Alright, so we're going to talk about something here. There's this thing called an espresso maker that I had put in my intense processing and all the rest of it. YouTube videos. Now, it's a nice, neat little design. If you actually listen to it, two different tubes with a boiler at the bottom and along the sides, with a return for the steam that blasts it in to spin it to the basically a radiator baffle system at the bottom to then bubble it through and more evenly distribute its heat back into the water. So my dog continues to just go hard on my flip-flop for some reason after he peed inside the house twice. Anyways, moving on. Cool idea. It's like a mocha pot. Most of the steam goes around the outside. Some of the water goes around the center. That allows for some of it to mix at the top, and it domes out and then to a nice little place for most of the water to reservoir. But more specifically, I get it, the dog's, doing its thing. Just bear with me. Along the side into a main reservoir. There is a good amount of pressure from steam still at the top, but the steam at the top will slowly but surely go into, because it's a reservoir that has a fill line that goes into that point, which will still drain back into the bottom once it's full, which is really just tube where it's full, just like your sinks in your bathroom has, or your tub, that kind of thing. Kind of same thing. Same thing with the steam. It's at the top. Well, tubes. Now this, at the steam end, has its own, I want to go to 15 bar or 30 bar or whatever bar spring pressure you want. You can even do no spring pressure. It could just immediately go in. But it has a valve. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, the reason why I have that is because thermal mass is good. Very high. It's very high efficiency in maintaining the pressure from that steam, but also the heat, which is in the reservoir, which, by the way, quickly heated up and then dropped into the reservoir, is a good thing. Now, I wanted to talk about these gear pumps because I talked about it before in the past as if it's a water pump from a car, which it would still work just fine. It's electrically resisted, so it maintains its heat. And you don't really need the heat to be very hot. You see, I don't. I can have a certain amount of steam pressure at the top, then that did actually heat up the water, fair degree, and then the rest in the reservoir is also heated because the reservoir and the gears are both electrically resisted, which is a good thing. You want that. That's kind of a positive. Now, give me 1 second here. I am cooking steak, so you're going to have to take a second while I do this, and then I'll come back. You have to excuse me, I'm eating steak. Alright. So the gear pump. Not the best one. Alright. Good steak, still eating it. Still working out. My fork's bendy. So there's this thing called cavitation. And supercavitation. Now if I make the right type of microcavitations along bumps and ridges, along gears, that are more of a... I know this is going to sound really silly, but it's a donut with a rod that's kind of like a mushroom tip rod. I get it, it's a silly sounding thing. Rod goes through and the mushroom tip kind of flares out at the bottom through the donut. I don't think. Anyways, if you do it the right way, as you spin the donut counter-rotatively, to the rod with the mushroom tip at the bottom. But first off, it produces a version of a almost like water pump. That's basically what that is. You can use worm gears to basically help the spinning of the donut, and the rod gear together as one. Or are there gears? It really depends on what you want to do. For me, it turns into, if you do it appropriately, with those nice little bumps and ridges, and you spin it one direction, it produces a great deal of increased flow. If you spin it one way and another way with the worm gears or other gears respectively, meaning the same direction, for both the front and the top of the donut and the mushroom gear rod thing, you then create cavitations, supercavitations, if you really want to get very technical, because they'll race along the surface area of both of these gears. They bleed off heat by doing that. If you wanted to do that in any particular form or fashion, because if you don't know, that allows for you to make the temperatures you want. Cavitations create a pocket for steam to come in, and it flows back into the reservoir that it will immediately put back into the reservoir at the bottom to do its whole heating up sort of thing. But here's a nice little caveat. The gear, both sets, regardless of if they're traveling the same direction or opposing, will still push water into your group head. Which is a Thermodynamics and Engineering 505, 606, and 707 course. If you're unaware. Cavitation creates steam. Steam also still drives a wicking effect, pressurizing the water to go down. Still makes a pump. And the pump still makes it pump. So, double pump. Now, granted, I have that extra tube system, and so if I really wanted to, I could really, really heat it up. And then bleed off the heat as I pump it down, and then let it cool off, because it's not been pre-warmed, run through once. My electrically resistive vacuum tube that goes into the funnel, that goes into the double group head, which this one I love. Yeah, I love this one. So if you push water through a given series of small holes into a reservoir that then goes into a series of small holes, the reservoir in between the two series of small hole area, that means it's higher pressure, technically. Quotation marks. Real technicality there. But what it means is consistent flow rate. Consistent pressure above. Which means I make exactingly that pressure as it comes out. Which then turns it into, what do you know? I have exactly the PSI, whatever bars you want, for your espresso. That's extremely consistently heated and precisely flowed to exactingly accurate measurements that you can put in yourself and change dynamically as you so choose. $50. Now, I'm going to tell you about this one. We're going to use the stainless steel. Okay, but not just regular stainless steel, forgeable stainless steel. We're going to be using Not just regular standard techniques. I hate them. They suck. They're terrible, and I don't like them. As you can clearly tell. I go with, you heard this thing called electromagnetics. Now hold on. Have you really heard about them? Because if you don't know, when something heats up enough, it allows current to pass through it. And when you hit it the right way, with good old vibratory, rapid cooling, you can warm it up and slowly heat it up. And even slowly cool it down. But no, if you don't know, there's this thing called lasers. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. But from what I understand it, they go burr in a direction really well. And they vibrate things incredibly, impeccably precisely. You know, and then you know what ends up happening when you do that? You are able to forge, temper, and harden and then temper, that is, really, all in one. In a small little tiny area. And you can puzzle piece them together at microscopic and even nanoscopic levels if you do it right. You know, stainless steel powder, not that expensive, but kind of expensive, but not that expensive. It's more the shipping than anything else, really. Then you get like this, and it's like, what we're talking about, what are we really talking about here? Like a decently sized laser, you know, okay. We got some air jets of argon, you know, rapidly cool it. Put some diaphragmic, you know, vibratory shit around it. So that way my laser really gets into that whole vibrational dance it needs to do, helping itself cool off and heat it up at the same time. Oh yeah, slowly. Oh, without the oxygens. Oh yeah, no more scale anymore. Got no more scale on my fucking goddamn espresso maker. And it's forged and hardened and then tempered, all in one fell swoop. And you know, because I can be doing that over there and use that heat, you know, as it vacates the premises into the surrounding area, I could probably use that to help me do this a little better, right? Am I right, folks? The right vibratory laser pushing like the James Webb Telescope, a vibrational cooling method. I can then do this nice, neat little trick called rapid cooling, rapid heating, and formation, and tempering, and all the rest of it. Even put in copper. Not to say I can't put copper in there while this is going on. What, are you kidding me? Of course I could do that. I can put copper in there. What is this? A bunch of insulatory aspects of like logic gate switches that I can just add in. You know, maybe some good old inductions and some, you know, circuitry. Once the induction has gotten to a certain point, it allows for a switch and we get electrically heated, and then that's a MOSFET, like a field effect. A field effect? For my heating and cooling in my baffle and my fucking reservoir mocha pot side? Making it far more fast at heating the water and making it more efficient to maintain it too, alongside of my triple-walled vacuum stainless steel that I can just put in like this hydrophobic, hydrophilic, anti-static, insulatory ceramic that I can just put it into pieces of the tube that goes into funnel, the reservoir on top with the gears above. And then I got the mocha pot, you know, multi-tube thingy, big jiggy thing, whatever that is. Recirculator, you know, kind of style of that. And then it's going to send it into the reservoir, and then I just it down. exactingly, precisely the temperature, because then I can still electrically heat, either through resistance or induction, the tube and the funnel and the group head dispersal thingy thing. And then still I've got the single-walled vacuum tube, basket bullshit that's electrically resistively heated slightly. You don't really want it to be too hot there, but not that bad, right? And all it took was a little bit of thinking. Because it's like, wait. Well, when you think about they don't make those. And I'm like, well, you're right. They don't make printers like that. Sorry, I'm just cool. I know things. I'm not like you lamos out there that are wanting to just buy stuff and get away with having enough money to make it work. I'm me. I totally fucking try and make this work myself. I'm gonna build my own fucking special 3D printer. You think I'm not gonna sell that bitch? Hey, here's an espresso maker. 50 fucking buckaroons. Super precise, accurate, and consistent. All day, every damn day. Actually, fairly cheap once you get into it. For the material costs, you gotta rent, you gotta do all the rest of the electricity, blah, blah, blah stuff. You gotta make your own, stuff that basically automates putting all the pieces together. But once that's done, labor tends to go down, therefore insurance and costs for the people that you have to actually have to pay. So it's just you, really. Maybe a couple others with extra designers or investor or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it's like, well, that... When you think about it, how much does it actually cost to make one scene? I'm making profit on 50 fucking bucks there, buckaroo. Where are you going? Huh? Where are you going? Where are you going? Now, granted, I'm not going to pay that off. That's a high initial investment, and then I still have the research and development to do all the rest of it, but still... I have this 3D printer. Do you guys want one? Yeah, well, I would sure love that. Actually. Yeah, how much does it cost? I wonder. How much would that cost? Forgeable, any material that can be forged. Down to fairly small degrees and has accesses. Because I can plasmify, spray, jet in with the argon, a charged particle deposition right onto it, crash it onto the plate, and make a brand new material. Maybe I can make this work for other things that normally wouldn't work. I don't just have forging, I have new material creation 3D printing. Could I get one of those? I kind of need one of those. Well, for the low price of 20 grand, you too could have one. But it's all out of business here. I'm using my original one to create a new one. And then I'm going to use that one and the original to make more for you. And I'm going to make more of those, to make more of those, to make more of those for you. Now it's $500. Have fun, buy materials, do fucking crime, be happy. Anarchy for the win. Bye.